Hey there, everybody. Thank you for joining us on 13 Plus for 13 on Your Side's 97th Academy Awards prediction show. In this show, myself and my two panelists will give our predictions for the biggest and most contentious categories this year in what has become an Oscars race for the ages. I am joined today by returning member Kyle Macciomei. He's the contributing member of the Grand Rapids Film Society, providing in-depth film analysis for their newsletter, Beam from the Booth, as well as 13 on Your Side anchor and secret movie nerd, Alana Holland, who represents a lot of you at home who don't watch movies for work, like Kyle and I. Thank you guys for joining us today. We have a lot of movies to talk about here. I wanted to give you guys a moment to talk about your experience this year with the Oscar noms before we jump right in.
Oh my gosh, Kyle, I'm so glad I get to open it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, no, I'm a zealot and the #1 critic of the Academy Awards. I think that it is a ridiculous institution that has an incredible amount of influence and power, and I obsess over it every single year. And I love to make fun of it, and I love to watch it, and I love to predict it, and I love to watch anything that gets nominated by it because I think film culture is really fun.
Right on.
I'm really excited for this now. I thought you'd have a totally different opinion, so this is gonna be cool. I watch a lot of the movies, but you know, I have a 2-year-old. I can't really get to the movies very much. I've seen about half of these on here, even though I made a point to try to see them all. So I think I'm gonna be more of the average viewer kind of opinion here in this. So take that for what you will. I'm not an Academy member. I'm just a person who likes to watch movies.
Neither are we. I depend on Kyle for all my my Academy Awards feedback and vibes. The write-ups that he does are always the most in-depth thing you've ever seen. So we bring that a little bit here. We get the legitimacy so we can follow it through. But we got a lot of movies to get through. We got a lot of people to get through. So we're going to start with pretty much this one that we all have the same picks for. But we are going to start with Best Supporting Actor. This is, I believe, we started with the supporting actor and actresses in last year's edition because they tend to have a little more consensus, and we're kind of getting a bit of that. So to start off, though, Best Supporting Actor. The nominees are obviously up here. We had actors from Anora, A Real Pain, A Complete Unknown, The Brutalist, and The Apprentice. So obviously, you know, kind of already hitting with a bunch of a lineup here. But there's kind of been a general consensus that it came here with the Best Supporting Actor is that arguably the one that we have all chosen is basically just a lead, and you know, got nominated as a supporting because they can. I know my pick, and I believe all of our pick is Kieran Culkin. So
we're Culkin group. Yeah.
Yes. We're all Culkin on it, and so Kyle, I wanted to let you kind of give you the floor here if you wanted to start to kind of talk about, you know, how Kieran Culkin has basically just taken over this race, even though there's actually some other really good performances in this category.
Yeah, we talked about this during the Gotham Awards, and it's this idea that the Oscars, when I was young, I'd watch with my parents, they'd be like, oh, that was my favorite, I wonder what's gonna win, and it was really fun to like have ideas and have opinions, and now, especially in the past 10, 15 years, we've built this entire precursor circuit, where before the Oscars happen, we have to have 10 other kind of minor awards that predict what's probably going to happen, and they can be really helpful for you know, actually correctly guessing the final result. And in some ways, that's made it, you know, entertaining and fun to follow along the entire campaign season. And in other situations like this, it can make things really boring. Because Kieran Culkin has won every single possible precursor, essentially, that is in existence for this campaign season for Best Supporting Actor. And part of it because what you were mentioning earlier, Eirk, he's basically a co-lead doing a type of performance that is the thing that he was so successful for in Succession, this kind of manic, all over the place, ADHD-driven, and like, you know, it's something that's very natural, it seems, to him. If you ever watch any of his behind-the-scenes interviews, it seems like he's just doing an extra performance of his own personality, added with a lot of depth that Jesse Eisenberg wrote for that character, and the two of them playing off each other. Yeah, he's 99.99% probably gonna win, and good for him because I think we love the Culkin brothers.
Yeah, they're always great. Now, Alana, I know
No
the biggest thing.
argument, really.
Yeah, no argument.
I actually haven't seen A Real Pain, but I started to. I just didn't get very far into it, and he was great, and I think he's a great actor, and it just seems like he's gonna win. So there's my pick.
Yeah, and if we see the posters again, if we can throw those up by chance, like when we look at some of those, you know, nominees and stuff like that, you have seen, you know, some of these movies. I mean, obviously you saw Nora, and so you know obviously who's supported there. But again, you just kind of look at this, and it's just like A Real Pain. I mean, it's the way I like to look at it. Right, he's on the picture right now. Jeremy Strong kind of is, and Jeremy Strong is unbelievable in The Apprentice. I was like absolutely blown away. But it's just the way that like A Real Pain does not work if it's not Kieran Culkin. Like anyone else could, like, I wouldn't say anyone, but many others could probably step into these roles and at least perform them convincingly because they were written well. But it's just like Kieran Culkin just is like the supporting actor of that movie. So that at least makes our picks. Again, we get through that one pretty quick because we have it there. But we finally, in our second category already, when we go to Best Supporting Actress, we have our first defector from the from
I feel
the
like
list.
this one's obvious. What are you talking about?
And who did you pick, Elena? Out
Who
of the
did I pick?
Well, we have
You
the
put
nominees.
Ariana, right?
obviously.
Yes, of course, because
Yes.
she was, again, same thing. She's basically a lead in this movie. And I am a huge musical theater fan. And I went into this movie not expecting much, blew me away. We knew Cynthia was going to meet and exceed our expectations, but I did not expect what Ariana did. She was not Ariana Grande, she was Glinda. She just embodied that role in a way I didn't think was possible.
Yeah.
So I thought she did amazing, and we're not even talking about the whole live singing thing, which
Right.
is another layer that I think these other artists aren't doing. So I
Yeah.
don't know. That's my pick.
You've
Probably-
chosen who I want
Yes,
to win.
I'm picking who I
adore
want
it.
to win.
I've rewatched the popular sequence on
Yes.
YouTube 10 times since the movie came out. It is just fantastic, and I love her so much. But it seems like I think Eirk and I are in agreement that Zoe Saldana has been the front runner of this race.
100%.
And I think she's won every precursor as
Yeah.
well. There is the question maybe of the Emilia Perez backlash the past
Right.
month and whether or not we want to get into that. But if you are
We have
unaware,
many categories that we could get into it. Basically, once every drop.
Did
Yeah.
you guys miss my huge eye roll about Emilia Perez?
I definitely saw it. I'm like, we know it's there.
And this is the one category I think if they won for it wouldn't be a huge problem.
I would not be upset.
No.
I do
But
like Ariana more.
This, and
but
this alone,
yes.
it shouldn't win anything else.
You also, I think it's interesting in this one too, because you do have kind of the same thing with the supporting actor, where again, Ariana is definitely a lead in this circumstance, but also Zoe is just the lead.
Yeah.
She's just the lead.
Correct.
So there's obviously been a lot of allegations over category fraud here that there's absolutely no reason that Zoe should have been nominated in this because she is the lead.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't necessarily think that if she wasn't in there that she wouldn't be able to win a Best Lead Actress award. It's just the way that the category has kind
Yeah.
of shaped out. So I
I
know
can see
that
that.
there's been a bit of annoyance with that, but also I don't think her performance is necessarily bad. I mean, I think it's good.
It's fine. She did fine.
She did
It's
what
just
she
the
needed to.
material was.
Yeah.
She got on the table.
Yep.
She danced.
Yep.
She did.
She sang, and sang in a very kind of I don't know what you'd call it, but kind of an authentically
Yeah.
non-musical version of
Yeah.
singing that is
Yeah.
endearing, I think, to
Yeah.
her as an actress. But maybe I think we all agree for us doesn't really work in the film, and then we're
Right.
getting into Emilia Perez, just
Right.
criticisms.
Right. But she still tried, and it's when we say try, it's
Are
still
we
putting
giving
in
a
a pretty good.
participation
No,
award
but
here?
it's. I was gonna say it's still a pretty good performance.
pretty good
There's
performance.
there's a lot of depth to that performance,
Yeah.
and I mean, without her, who knows what we're talking about with that movie? I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, that's the glue. But it's kind of the same thing with Wicked. So,
Okay.
as you can see on the picks, Best Supporting Actress, both Kyle and I are in the same on Zoe. Elena's going.
I'm
for
rooting
the-
for Ariana.
the pick on Ariana. I also kind of am.
I
too.
hope you're
Yeah,
right.
I hope I'm right.
I was gonna say I was a
hope I
little,
am.
I was a little out of it, but I did like that one. So
Yeah.
that wraps up our supporting categories, at least for actor and actress. So
What's
we
next?
get on to adapted screenplay, which is fun. So adapted screenplay, for anyone at home that doesn't know what that means, it means that it was directly adapted from something that already exists. So usually, anytime you see based on a book at the end of the movie, or based on even another movie or even a play, that usually implies that it's adapted. So it kind of makes for an interesting category where you start to see movies that you didn't really realize were in that case, but it's a really strong category this
This
year,
one was tough.
exceptionally so. We'll pull up the nominees here because I even need to see, because I'm already I look at
This
my
was
own
tough.
this is tough. Especially Sing Sing being in there too. That's an incredible film. But it's you look at it and there's some good stuff in there. I know we've got two that had the same, and I'm also kind of I kind of want it there. So Kyle, we were talking about this in the green room, with this push for adapted screenplay, but there's kind of a front runner that's pulling away.
It seems that Conclave is the front runner, adapted from kind of a pulpy airport novel. Some people describe it similar to the essence of the Da Vinci Code,
Yeah.
it's the Catholic Church and the secrets that lie within. And it is a script and a story that specifically in the third act has some detractors and have some critiques from it. But it seems to have pulled away as the front runner with the precursors that have come into it. If you're not familiar, Conclave is kind of an election election story of electing the new pope in this fictional kind of Vatican City of this narrative where all of the different cardinals have different political factions. And it's the story of their machinations and their strategies of trying to get various voting blocks together to elect certain candidates in the same way that we just had an election year, you know, in America. And so I think the tie-in between those two feelings of us just having gone through an election season and Conclave representing that in a very isolated form struck with the voters, struck with viewers, and seems to be the front runner of this category.
I was so shocked by this movie because, you know, not being somebody who is Catholic, I had to like look up a lot of this stuff about the book or about the movie.
A lot of rituals.
A lot of rituals, but honestly, it was one of my favorites out of all of these this year. I was so blown away how well done this movie was. So yeah, great screenplay.
Yeah, it's a political drama that like takes itself really seriously, but also leaves the room to like make it very watchable.
Yeah,
it's like you don't have to deal with like a lot of the underbelly. Like it just, again, the help of the election year is really what like pushes it. Now, I didn't vote for it, so I'm like, that's.
What did you choose?
What did you pick?
I chose Nickel Boys because after I watched that, I was like, we also talked about this in the green room, Kyle, but like I was really blown away because it just like, I don't know how anyone looks at a traditional adapted screenplay and is able to actually look at, you know, this book, because it is based on, you know, a book, and then be able to pull it and take so many experiments with it that you're completely changing like what, to me, adaptation means, like just fundamentally. And that's always kind of the fun, is like an adapted screenplay is always about what it changed and what it did to, you know, the material. But this just like, it is arguably one of the most transformative. For anyone that hasn't seen it, I love this movie. It's shot in first person, basically the entire time. There's a couple scenes where it's kind of in this like third person perspective, but it doesn't sound that crazy until you're actually watching it. And then when you're kind of like 25 minutes in, you're like, this is truly unlike anything, that you're just watching this narrative in first person. And it gives a tact to an era that we've seen represented in film a lot. And I think that tends to, it feels bad to say it, but also tends to thrive on this idea of being able to detach the camera to kind of show these horrors in these kind of various ranges versus this one where it is just, you are locked right into being front line and center to basically some of the worst, you know, eras in American history, you know, when it comes to, you know, racism and such. And so to get there, it's a very uncomfortable and deeply troubling piece. But I just, when I think of an adaptation, I'm like, that's like, to me, what I would want out of bringing that. But Conclave is also extremely good.
Both are good. I think these are both good picks.
They are really good. So
win-win.
It is a win-win. So that brings us to our adapted. So obviously our choices there. You know, we have Kyle and Elena picking Conclave, and then I'm going alone on Nickel Boys. So just before we're taping, it did pick up an award the other day. So I'm holding out hope.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm holding out hope it can go the distance.
Do we, at the end of this, have like some kind of award for who gets the most right? Because I feel like we should by the end of this.
Yeah, I feel like we
work on
should.
this.
We'll work on that, because I think we had the exact same thing last year and we didn't do it. So I don't know.
I want a prize.
Maybe it was like
when Wicked wins everything.
With the Wicked sweep. Maybe there's like maybe there's like a gift card or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But sticking with our screenplays though, we go to Best Original. This one doesn't need as much explanation. You made it out of thin air. You know, you used your life, your friends, your family to get this one. Yeah, right, your ideas to get this out of here. So when we look at the nominees, again, just really, really strong. A lot of repeats, obviously. We have Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5th, which is the only one on this screen I haven't seen, and then The Substance. Welcome to The Substance. That's kind of the first one that it really brings itself in. We'll kind of take a look at it a little later because it's got some attention through there. But Kyle, you know, original screenplay, that's a really, really stacked category. I mean, how have things been kind of looking on the original side?
Absolutely. It feels like to me, if we were to talk about films that are likely not to win, September 5 would be there. I saw it just a few weeks ago. If you're interested into the political history of journalism, of 24-hour news, of the way we cover events like major like terrorist events and how we ethically as journalists might do that, and the ways in which technology have kind of amplified that. It's a really interesting and kind of intense, but still like kind of enjoyable watch of a film, but it hasn't gotten a lot of attention, so we can kind of look at the other categories. The Substance, you know, if we talk about precursors, the earliest festival we had was the Cannes Film Festival, with the Substance won Best Screenplay there. So you'd think it might be a front runner, and it's feminist themes that are conveyed through the storytelling have struck with a lot of the voters in Hollywood, so whether that is able to elevate it is certainly in contention.
Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg was the writer and director and star of A Real Pain,
Right.
so sometimes you like to reward, sometimes the screenplay categories get to refer to as like the cool categories,
Right.
where, okay, we're not going to be able to give you Best Picture, but we
Right.
think that this movie is really cool. It's like when Get Out wins
Yeah.
Best
Yeah.
Original Screenplay, like, oh, that's a really cool movie, we
Right.
want to recognize that there, so it has a chance. I will say though, it seems like predictive-wise, the two major frontrunners here are also kind of frontrunners for maybe Best Picture,
Right.
is Nora or The Brutalist.
Right.
Both, again, writer-directors, and this is a category where you get to reward maybe the writer-director, auteur for the work
Right.
that they did on the script.
Yeah. Now I know one thing is that the feminist themes of The Substance did not land with someone in this room.
I have such mixed thoughts about this movie.
And you're not alone.
I picked it. So what I loved about it was, I think, what people didn't love, and that was how much it just went there with the physical acting and the physical
Gore.
ew.
Yeah.
Right.
It really went there.
It's a disgusting film.
It's disgusting. The acting was really, really good. The actual script, I had issues with. I had issues with the fact that, the main character hardly has any dialogue, which I know is the point, but just kind of like wrote them off as a character that has no voice, which bothered me. And I also really just didn't understand why the character would make these choices. If I didn't know it was written by a woman, I would have thought it was written by a man, because it just kind of had like, why? And I'm like, this isn't gonna happen. So I didn't pick that for the screenplay. I think I just picked Real Pain for like a curveball for you guys.
Yeah,
I love a
but
curveball.
very much so. Very much so. A really solid
Yeah.
choice, because again, like Kyle was saying, it is one of those where it really awards things. It kind of the category traditionally tends to look at the concept, right, and the execution of said concept. So with something Best Picture, there's so much going into it, but in terms of a screenplay, it's just like, who had a really great idea, who executed it well, and obviously the Academy reads them. I mean, they look at them, and so if anyone's read a screenplay, it's definitely not an easy read. But honestly, when one is kind of an easy read and really carries itself forward, and you kind of can see how it translates on screen, you get it there. So
And let's not forget, sometimes the voters, they can get as simple or as petty. Again, when I criticize this institution, they can just ask themselves, oh, it'd be nice to see Jesse Eisenberg give a speech.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure it'd be a wonderful speech.
I'm
and
sure
you
it
wouldn't
would.
love to see an actor then go up there and then represent a different category.
Right.
So who knows? I'd love to see it.
Why
Yeah.
did you guys both pick a Nora?
I think in terms of that parameter that I set, in terms of a concept that you're executing on, and seeing how it carries it forward, it's just amazing. I
Yeah.
think the dialogue is just fantastic, and I think the way that it's able to blend those moments where you have no dialogue and you kind of just will have to write very pointed direction, within the screenplay. It just the story progress and the way that it builds itself and the way it concludes itself, I think for me was just incredible, just truly incredible. Kyle, I don't know if you kind of shared the same sentiment.
I don't have opinions. I just express the statistics and facts that are.
You have opinions. This one is a big one, because
You're right.
we talked about this, where this might be Sean Baker's little handout.
If we were talking about maybe if the Academy wanted to be strategic, which they're not because they're very silly and isolated, but if they wanted to, they could say, oh, well, maybe we could give Brady Corbet Best
Right.
Director and then Sean Baker Best Writer, because maybe those are the areas that the two of them excel the most, so
Right.
in a way of maybe rewarding both of them.
Right.
Or they just end up going with a different category. We
Right.
just never really know with these types of things.
Right.
But we have a vague picture based on the precursor awards.
Yeah, it's tough to imagine Baker getting shafted out of either one of those categories with Best Directed and Best Screenplay, because if anyone's been campaigning hard enough for him, it's been Mikey Madison.
That's
who,
right.
The lead of Honora, who she at every turn has been like, without him, this doesn't happen. So, we'll see. But that's our screenplays.
It was pretty close. I was between.
It is.
I kind of just wanted to give a different one. I actually think it'll be a Nora too.
Yeah, but it's close though.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see it, because again, just before we taped as well, A Real Pain did actually also win. I think, did it win at the BAFTAs? Is that what it won at?
Oh, I actually haven't checked that.
I
I
feel
thought
like it-
Conclave Bid did, but
Actually, no, that makes more sense because it's British film. But yeah, it did. It picked up an award somewhere, which kind of shook it up a little bit. People were interested in it. So, anyways, that's our screenplays. The next one, we kind of get into a bit of the more fun categories. I like to always kind of spice it up a little bit. Best animated feature. We have 3 different ones. We finally all have ones that we have to actually stand up for. So, Elena, out of these noms, which one got you?
I love Inside Out too. I think this movie and the first one, but this one especially, just really hits on a very interesting thing. And I've had friends who have kids, or are in some kind of like therapist, psych world, and they use this movie to demonstrate different emotions, especially anxiety. And I just thought the movie was really fun to watch, and I thought it was great. But I haven't seen them all, so I can't say how it stacks up to others. I'm just like a big fan of it.
Yeah. I can also add, it was the highest grossing film of the year, over $1 billion. And sometimes Hollywood likes to evaluate and appreciate, like saying, hey, thank you for doing good business for us and keeping people coming to theaters.
Yeah,
so absolutely.
that's true.
Yeah.
What'd you guys pick?
So Kyle, I'm interested in kind of your decision there, because the pick that you made was actually where I was thinking I was going, but I was just like, no, I gotta go alone on this one.
The two that I'm going to discount are two really fun ones because they're claymation. We have Memoir of a Snail and Wallace and Gromit. Wallace and Gromit has been a British institution and ultimately maybe the most prolific claymation studio possibly in the world for the past 20, 30 years. And so it's just great that they got a nice Netflix film. They got recognized. Anytime they make anything, the Academy likes to recognize them because it took them 6 years to make that one. The other one, Memoir of a Snail, is from an Australian claymation director. This is, I think, his second feature film. It took him 8 years to make. It's kind of like an autobiography. Very experimental. It's also the second animated film ever to be nominated that is R-rated. So kind of adult animation being represented here, which is nice. Neither of those are probably going to win, though. It's either Inside Out 2, I think. It is, I think, your pick, which is Flow, which is my personal favorite. Or, I think, Wild Robot, which has done an incredible job of selling itself as new, innovative, stylish, fresh. It has themes of technology and nature intersecting, which are very relevant right now with so many AI conversations that we have in the public discourse. Using a new kind of fresh animation style, this category historically has been dominated by Disney and Pixar. That kind of like built the mold of what animated films, 3D animated films look like. And now we're starting to see this new experimental kind of like expressionistic 3D animation that Wild Robot really conveys and is probably going to do quite well. And I think is going to win this category, but I would love, Eirk, for you to sell on my favorite film, personally, which is Flow.
I love this movie. I was gonna say, first off, if anyone's been watching DreamWorks movies, you know that they have been cooking lately, and that's all I'm saying with Wild Robot. That expressionistic style, they're taking it. But Flow, oh my goodness. Okay, so this movie is from Latvia. It was made by I want to say probably 20 people. I think I'm gonna say probably 20 people, a small crew, made in an open source animated software called Blender. Now, for anyone that doesn't know what open source means, it means free. It just means anyone at home can download this. You can download this and you could make an Oscar-nominated animated film out of nowhere. There is zero dialogue. It's all with animals, and it's like the main character is just this cat, and there is just this I don't even know how you can describe it, but just this biblical flooded world with some of the most striking imagery you will ever see, and these really heartfelt humanistic performances from animals that don't ever feel like it's strange. And again, none of them talk, so there's no talking. It's all just this visual language, and it's just something about it. I got done watching it, and it's just incredible. I made names for the animals. I watched this with my partner, and we made names for the animals and decided, we were like, all right, these are our favorites. My personal favorite, there's a capybara in it. He steers the little boat they go on. I called him Captain, okay? And so I was so attached to him. It was amazing. And again, it was just watching this with her was amazing because we just were rooting for these characters. She can't say anything.
That's cool.
But it has this amazing thing about it where it feels like a once in a generation type deal, where it's this total rags to riches story with a movie like this, and it's amazing. The score is absolutely fantastic.
And if you have cats, it's a real cat, I'm a bit of a cat dad.
Yeah.
And so if you it's really good at animating the expressions of how cats operate, how they move and feel and look through the world. Does it really authentically, and it's someone who lives with so many different cats. I was like, oh, that's a cat thing. That's what happens. Yeah. And it does it with all of the animals, but the main cat specifically.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of rooting for it.
It's really good. The last fun fact that I'll give on it is that from what I have read, there were 0 deleted scenes.
What?
Every single scene that was animated and thought up was put in. There was not a single deleted
First
scene.
nominated film from Latvia.
From Latvia, yeah. So the whole country is obviously going crazy with it. There's a statue of the cat in the city's capital, or in the capital city. It's amazing. It's just a big old cat. It's amazing. I love it.
Cat.
I really hope Flow.
All right,
wins.
I'm kind of rooting for it now too, but I'll stand by my pick.
We love it.
Please do.
Best animated feature. That's awesome. So moving on, we have best production design. I'm the one out on the on the outside.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let myself intro it, even though I just took the combo from Flo. But so production design, for anyone that doesn't understand, is this traditionally refers to something that kind of akin to set. The set. There are other categories where we talk about like best costumes and stuff, but when it's production design, we are definitely looking more so at how the sets are developed and kind of this general art direction of what the world around everything looks like. In terms of that, I was like, when I saw that out of the nominees that The Brutalist was in there, I was like, how does The Brutalist not win Best Production Design? Because the whole movie is about production design. Like, that's really what it is. Like, but the nominee I know. So Wicked is in there. So if we look at the nominees, we have The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, which don't count that out ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Nosferatu, which is a definitely interesting one to fit in there. And then Wicked. I like that they're both at each of the ends because it kind of resembles this idea that I feel like I'm on the total outside. Wicked is really great, but something about The Brutalist scale and the way that it actually makes itself its period piece, like you just lose yourself entirely in the sets and the design of the sets, and obviously the fact that architecture is literally the name of, like, the architecture is brutalism, and so you have to really sell that and convince people to go for it. But I'm off my soapbox. Let's go Wicked now. You guys go
talk
for
about
it.
Wicked now?
Yes, it's the
Whatever,
practical
I'm outta here.
sets. I cannot wait one day to go to, like, how, they do those tours of the sets because you can see everything. They built everything. It's real. They planted all those tulips. They built the train. And I think that's just cool that it was, and it kind of gave a nod to the original Wizard of Oz with like the kind of green screen background that it used. It had all these practical sets and then the little bit of the far off background that looks like it was just, a screen back there like the original, 1930s or whatever. I thought it was just, the scale of that movie is insane, and I think it should be recognized for it.
I completely agree. And a vote for Wicked is kind of a vote for the Wizard of Oz in the way that we used to do big, large-scale warehouse movie making, where we get just a giant warehouse and we just fill it with beautiful, magical worlds that you can exist in that usually don't exist anymore because we're doing a lot of that in computers and CGI. And so the ability of Wicked to have built all of these amazing spaces that you can immerse yourself in is fantastic. The only reason why The Brutalist might be up there in contention too, I think, Eirk, is because The Brutalist is so also focused on the space and the environment and the architecture, and they're doing it with probably like less than 5% of the budget that Wicked had.
True.
So whether you want to favor the kind of big heavyweight champ, or if you want to do the small little independent engine that could, it's a kind of interesting story of these two titans clashing in the middle. I wouldn't totally discount Nosferatu in all of the categories. For some reason, no one really expected to get any nominations, and that has to beg itself, like, should we also be maybe predicting a possible win? Who knows? Conclave has these beautiful kind of like, Vatican cathedrals and beautiful art design, and Dune is just this beautiful scientific world.
Dune is Dune.
And Dune is Dune.
Dune is Dune.
I would have given it to part 1 where it's kind of that world building, but I knew what to expect for part 2. I was less impressed. I know that sounds like not a good reason, but I feel like people will have that in mind too. Like, oh yeah, we saw this already, even though it's amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of why Conclave, I feel like, doesn't get it. It's
yeah,
we
know what these
we're pretty
spaces
familiar
like.
with that.
Yeah.
So it's like, even though getting inside is obviously something else, but I don't know, there's something to be said about where you see something familiar, and you always have to remember filmmakers will put something in a familiar place so that you do just focus on what's going on versus trying to wow you with these kind of worlds and these special designs. But I think it totally lines up, especially with Wicked, where it's just like you do have a Clash of the Titans again, where it might be a less budget per se, and then kind of how you create these very small, meaningful spaces. But then with Wicked, it's like, with the budget it had, it could have just made everything digital. It could have just had everyone acting on green screens, but they didn't, and they created a consistent art direction and set design that keeps you looking. You're looking at everything. There's always something you're looking at because there's something interesting to take from it. So you can never discount that, regardless of budget or commercial popularity. Like, it's popular for a reason. It's because people actually believed that this was on the stage. Whatever. I didn't even mean to do that. All right, I need, anytime a Wicked category needs to get up, I just need to leave because it's dangerous.
It's so good. I just thought
I
think of all of them, that's the one I feel most strongly about with Wicked. But
yeah.
Well, no, I don't know. I think Ariana should win. Okay, we should move on.
We'll move right along. That's best production design. Everybody, there's our picks. I'm going alone on the Brutalist on that one. Next up, consider me shocked. I voted for the Brutalist again, but best cinematography. So I think the movie is amazing. I think it looks visually so impressive. The shot choices are fantastic. The sense of scale is unbelievable. The color palette, the way that the film it stuck with me. I think the most out of that movie is just how visually appealing it was. I know, Kyle, it kind of felt the same, for you, obviously. That's your pick as well, so.
Yeah, The Brutalist is shot, we talk a lot about the difference between digital filmmaking and actual celluloid filmmaking, and the differences that you can get out of it. And we're getting into a point where the two of them, you can have digital filmmaking that looks really similar to actual film production, but there is something to be said about a movie that had this low of a budget, this long of a runtime, that still decided to not only shoot in film, but shoot in a specific type of film stock called VistaVision.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the expert on this, but it is a historic kind of old school, like massive film print that has not been made, I believe, in decades. The last, I think, American film that was shot on VistaVision was decades and decades ago. I believe one of the last major features ever to do it was a Hungarian film. Don't quote me on that. But it's interesting then that this film features, exactly, a huge Hungarian kind of lineage and with everything that's about it. So there's a huge respect for filmmakers who will go out of their way to do a type of cinematography that is challenging but rewarding. And some of those shots, specifically in the Italian mountains where they're gathering the marble, I've just never seen anything that beautiful before, especially on IMAX. And that of all the five here, this and Dune are the two most IMAX-like, of just like you have to see it on the big screen. And The Brutalist sells itself in that way. Quick shout out to Maria, a film from, I believe, a Chilean filmmaker who was also nominated in this category last year for El Conde. I might be mispronouncing that. And just nice to see. I think that's the only nomination from Maria, but Angelina Jolie was terrific in it. Nosferatu, again, don't count it out. Sometimes just things like this happen.
Excellent usage of light in that movie, by the way.
Absolutely.
Excellent usage of light. I mean, a lot of people tend to really point to the scene kind of in the dark where it's like the carriage or whatever is coming up and you got the little like kind of blue snowfall and the way that they used light to kind of hit this moonlight. Like I think they used, I had read this full rundown and it totally escapes my mind, of course, now because we're in front of cameras, that of how they managed to get that moonlight to achieve. So excellent usage of that, which is obviously a big part of that.
What was your pick?
Okay, I don't think you guys are wrong about The Brutalist on this one, but I wanted to throw a pick in there for Dune 2, just kind of for the reasons we've already been talking about. It's such a big scale. It's so interesting with, kind of like that big immersive space experience. I think it's got a chance.
Oh, I agree.
I think I can kind of see your point on The Brutalist, but I think it could also be Dune. So that's why I picked.
Dune is gorgeous. And do we all remember the black and white set piece where it's all shot in with that type of infrared technology that had to be invented specifically for that scene? I mean, I'd never seen anything like that. And so I would be very happy if Dune 2 won.
There's some really interesting stuff they did with that part 2 that I could see it taking this.
The series is so funny because it just keeps doing these incredible things, but it tends to just not get the respect at all. Like
the Dune series?
Yeah.
Well, the first one actually was like, I think it won 4 to 6 different Oscars in the production below the line category. It's just that this Dune Part 2 was released so early in the year. People, I say like, oh, Dune got nominated for Best Picture again, and people say, oh, that was this year? And it's like, yes, it was. It was just so early, so people kind of forget about it.
Yeah, it's interesting that people are just like, well, here we go again, and then you just kind of expect brilliance and then don't pay attention to the fact that they're always innovating and always trying to change on it. So, but that's the best cinematography again. That has Kyle and I on The Brutalist again. Elena with the rogue pick of Dune Part 2, but a very believable. Yeah, roguish. I'm like very believable. Like, all the ones you've stepped out on are very much so possible, and all have their ways, which is great. So again, you don't always have to see every pinky up movie to actually have a play in the conversation for Academy Awards. So think about that for your own parties at home. But now we're getting into the big four. So the big four, this is the one where it gets really crazy. This one especially. So we're talking best directing. Again, whichever director helmed a film that they really succeeded on.
What are the nominees?
Let's take a look at the nominees. So as you can see, so for Best Director, we've got Sean Baker. Let's see if we can remember the names off our heads, Kyle, because we didn't put them on this graphic. But we have Sean Baker.
Yes.
I know for Complete Unknown that was James Mangold, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Yep. Amelia Perez was. I think if I pronounce it right, is it Jacques
Audiard?
Audiard. Yep. Jacques Audiard. And then Substance was. Oh, I always think it's...
Coralie, I believe Fargit or Fargit. I'm not entirely sure. I believe she's French.
Yes, I believe so. And then the Brutalist, I forgot his name.
Brady Corbet.
Brady Corbet, that's right. Yep. So now you'll notice when we just said all those names, one of them was not in there. Elena,
Here's the thing. We're going to just mentally erase the Amelia Perez nomination there and replace it with Jonathan Chu from Wicked, and that's who I think should win.
I think there are a lot
He's not even nominated.
There are a lot of Academy voters who would actually agree with you at this point.
You know what? I think the problems I had with Emilia Perez all came down to the direction. So the fact that he was nominated for it, I took personal offense to. And I just like, and I think the things that were so good about Wicked were down to the direction. So I think that's the swap, and there you go.
We have.
There's my writing category.
We have a 13 plus first out of the Oscar shows. We have a write-in
Yes.
for a winner. So
it's not going to win, but
the
obviously.
one vote has been cast. Kyle, you also had a different pick than I did. You picked Brady Corbet, which obviously I'm glad I had to phone a friend to get the name back because I keep forgetting.
I did, though, honestly, I think since then I might be thinking 50-50 between that and Sean Baker. Sean Baker from Anora has won a number of precursors, specifically the DGA, the Directors Guild Award, which predicts usually the best picture, the best director at the Oscars about 91% of the time.
Right.
So it's feeling like, oh, well, that was a major shakeup, but you never know because things could change, especially in a season this year. We were talking about this before we started screening, but last year was such an easy to predict season because Oppenheimer was just this huge behemoth that walked in from the summer and said, we're probably going to win so many of these, and then it ended up doing that. This year is so much different. There's so many different changing narratives and stories, and so is The Brutalist a front runner? Is it going to walk home with no awards? Like, we really just are not entirely sure. John M. Chu is just such a fun and interesting guy with a cool story. His story of being like found by Spielberg when he was younger, and then being like, I really like am passionate about this world, this stylistic world, and that he's been able to build for himself. Should we do a real quick, we haven't fully dived into the Emilia Perez of it all. Do you want me to give the briefest of summaries for anyone
I was like,
who
we
doesn't
were either
know?
going to get to it for Best Lead Actress or we were going to do it for Best Director because
best
Jacques
directing.
Audiard is a very, very tasteless human being.
Well, so it's so interesting.
In your opinion.
In my opinion.
In your opinion.
Don't come for me.
Emilia Perez
Netflix is
came
gonna kill
into
us.
this season with 13 nominations. Kind of a record. There's one film, I believe, that has 14 nominations, but there's like about 10 films that have ever received 13 nominations. Some of them, middling, but a lot of them like, oh, Gone with the Wind and these big historical. Titanic, I believe, maybe La La Land. So for Emilia Perez to come in, you'd think that there's this universal adoration for the film.
Right.
If you're not aware, it's based off of an Italian opera directed by a French director, Jacques Audiard, featuring characters who are essentially in this kind of Mexican environment with the cartel bosses and lawyers and nonprofits. It's kind of hard to explain because it's kind of a befuddling and baffling film. To a certain extent, that's the purpose of the film. It's supposed to be this grand kind of dream ethereal thing. It might have even been a film that had come out that would have just been like, oh, that was an interesting, weird take on all of these things. But the problem, I think, sometimes when the Academy does its thing on the wrong film, it can shine a huge spotlight on things that creates this discourse that's honestly overwhelming and toxic, where we have to say, like, Emilia Perez, and we start nitpicking everything that's wrong with the film. I have a lot wrong with Emilia Perez. It was not helped then that after the nominations came out, lead actress, Carlos Sofia Gascon, old tweets starting to be uncovered that were troubling, to say the least. Jacques Audiard, as it turns out, is not great in interviews and says a lot of weird things. And he has said some things that have, understandably frustrated and annoyed either Latin American or Mexican audiences, so that when the film toured down there, they had a really strong rejection of it. There's this long, complicated thing where Emilia Perez kind of came in as a frontrunner, maybe was going to win a bunch of awards, and after the messiness of the past month that has just been honestly exhausting, it might win international and Zoe Saldana for Best Supporting, and then nothing else.
Right.
And so it's just interesting to see how the entire narrative has shifted, and I think we're just at the end of it so exhausted because it felt like every day a new thing would come up on our phones with a new Emilia Perez story. And this is an example of, I think, the Oscars doing its work wrong, uplifting films that then end up causing so much a discourse that it's just like, oh, well, this is film culture. Now this is not even fun to be a part of.
Right.
And it can be a real shame. And it sounds like you didn't enjoy watching it.
Here's the thing.
A lot of people did.
Yeah, it was. Looking at it just from that aspect of, kind of the outcry, I think it did a horrible job representing the groups it was trying to represent. In fact, I think it did more damage than it helped. And then it just wasn't fun to watch, the musical aspect of it. Like, I feel like I'd be watching it along and think, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. And then they break out into this really bad song. And I'd feel like, here we are, go again. And I think if you look at the storyline, there was a storyline there from the start to end. It could have been really interesting, and it just didn't land. I think, you know, and I'm trying to give it the biggest benefit of the doubt here, really. Like, there was a story hidden in there, and it just didn't quite make it.
Yeah,
personally.
I echo everything you guys have said. Where it's just frankly, like, I even tried to tune out the noise because I could tell it was getting kind of that fever pitch where I was like, if I don't watch this now, it's going to be impossible to walk into. And when credits rolled, I just found myself just completely like, there is just so little substance in it, in my opinion, and it just is the most confusing film from a perspective of just like, who made this?
Yeah.
like who like again and again, whose direction, right?
Right.
The category. Where are my fingers? The category.
Right.
Like, you think of the directing in that circumstance, and you're just like, what was the image here?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, was this seriously just awards bait? Was this seriously, like, you know, what was this? Again, the musical component, I think anyone would struggle to find someone that truly resonated with it, because I just think it's horribly misplaced.
I liked when Zoe got on the table.
That was that was
I like when she got on the table.
And
That was the only
that's why it's
time.
the song that's nominated, right?
Yes,
To
and we'll
win Best
probably win
Original.
that.
We'll probably win
And
that.
why Zoe's probably going to win that award.
Right.
But it just, like, in terms of, there are just some songs in there that are just baffling. Absolutely baffling. And so, anyways, to keep it from
We all
going
know what
on
you're
a full, you know, smear
But it's a
side
good
from our thing, right?
example of the Academy being an insulated voting body
Right.
that doesn't always express the popular opinion of critics or
Right.
moviegoers or fans, and that disconnect can result in things like this.
Right.
And we're going to see what happens on Oscar night and how well it does, and that's going to be kind of a verdict on how voters responded to the backlash of the past month.
Yeah,
For sure.
I'm curious
So,
to see what happens.
When we look at votes, I didn't mention it too much on my end, but I chose Sean Baker. We've talked about him plenty of times in through here. I love his story. You know, really started with these small films, has always been telling the stories of, you know, very underserved communities, and at this point has taken on, you know, the sex work industry, and has just done it with such tact and such believability that the work that he's put into it has just been amazing. So that gives him my vote. You know, Elena, again, the first write-in vote that I've seen yet, and then, you know, Kyle going with Brady Corbet, which, again, if you direct a 3.5-hour epic and manage to pull it off like that, you deserve, you know, a knob.
And
So,
let's
we're
recognize
really
as well,
getting
Coralie Fargy getting in for
Yes.
the substance. A horror film that is this gory,
Yeah.
this
Yes.
intense, this
Unreal.
like
It's
visceral,
intense.
getting a nomination for Best Director, that's a big deal. That's
Yeah.
not something to ignore. And so the
Absolutely.
way
I
that
agree with
horror
that.
gets treated by the Academy at this point and moving forward, it's going to be very interesting to see it
Yeah.
evolve.
100%.
I agree with that.
100%. So that brings us now. We're down one. We have 3 more to go, and they're the big ones.
Right.
Best Lead Actress. This is a big one.
Yeah.
It's a really big category. We'll flash up the nominees again. You're going to see a lot of similar movies that we have seen through here. So, you know, as Elena and her are on a first name basis, obviously Cynthia, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Arrivo.
Yep.
And then again, Carla, who we've just talked about, Mikey Madison, you know, Demi Moore, and then Fernanda Torres, who is not going quietly, that's for sure, is campaigning real hard to get that. But we have 2 of the same, and then Elena with the Rogue One.
You know,
but I think
I feel very strongly about my pick for this.
Okay.
Yeah, because I picked Mikey
Yep.
for Anora, and while I really enjoyed the movie, and I understand the praise it's getting, I think she was the best part.
Demi Moore?
Like, oh no, in
Oh, in
Anora.
Mikey, yes.
Yep.
Yes, she was incredible in this movie, and I
Unbelievable.
couldn't look away. You know,
Right.
she just really, and I understand like the role was written for her, and it was, you know, she just did great. I think she was fantastic. As much as I'd love to see Cynthia Erivo in it, but
Right.
there's always next year for part 2.
Of course. And then Kyle, that brings us to both of ours again. This, for me, this is the perfect 50-50. Like, this is almost like I accidentally hit send on my pick, meaning to type something else, because it's such a dead heat for me with Demi Moore and Mikey Madison. Like, Mikey Madison is Anora, but at the same time, public perception, unfortunately, does play in sometimes, you know, when we get down to this. And Demi Moore, the Golden Globes win, I believe, right?
She gave an incredible
incredible
speech that
speech.
really sold her campaign.
Right. That like boosted her all the way into the stratosphere. So Kyle, you know, need some analysis on this one because this is a race for the ages, at least.
Oh my
when
gosh,
you're looking
absolutely.
Here.
I mean, Cynthia, I loved in the film, but it doesn't seem like she's got enough traction to be able to get over the finish line. Carla Sofia Gascon has fully, basically, removed herself from the race. We've already talked about it.
Didn't even show up to the BAFTAs.
Not getting into that again. Fernanda Torres was one that, similar with her film I'm Still Here, a Brazilian film, is such an interesting, fun story. The only other Brazilian actress, I believe, who's ever been nominated by the Oscars was her mother, who is also in the film I'm Still Here, from the same director, Walter Salles. Fun fact, I believe a billionaire inherited his wealth from his father and said, I just want to make movies. And he's been basically Brazil's most prolific filmmaker. His film Central Station, Motorcycle Diaries, he's been in a long, decades-long history that he's come back for with this film, I'm Still Here. And Fernanda Torres is this kind of powerhouse performance where she might sneak in as a dark horse candidate, but it is between Mikey Madison and Demi Moore. Demi Moore, who was this kind of popcorn box office star in the 90s, kind of maybe faded away from the public perception. We kind of forgot about her, and then she came back to tell a story about what it's like to be in Hollywood as an older woman, and the concept of beauty as pain, the concept of perception. Some people like yourself just didn't fully resonate with that, but enough voters seem to be pushing that forward, and her ability to sell her campaign, especially, you know, we talked about the Golden Globes, she gave such a great speech. Sometimes that's all you need. You need to get on one stage, give a good speech, and then Academy voters will say, like, I want to see you do that again on our stage. And it can be as silly as that sometimes. But I personally love Mikey Madison a little bit more, but it's kind of a dead heat between the two of them. The SAG Awards, the Screen Actors Guild, that's going to be this upcoming Sunday. That will be a really helpful predictor for knowing who really is in front.
I'd be happy to see Demi win too. I think she acted so well in that movie. I'd be totally fine with seeing her win too.
Yeah, absolutely. And as of time of taping, I think it's February 20th. So, you know, viewers that are watching this a little later might have some additional context, you know, on us that change our votes. But yeah, I think it's a dead 50-50. But that's our lead actresses. So, you know, Demi Moore and Mikey Madison, again, pretty much the two front runners when I look at it. And if one day if I wake up on a different side of the bed, it's, you know, Mikey, the other.
Yeah, they're both great. We love seeing.
It's amazing. We love to see a rising star and then one that's just, you know, getting that shine back, which is great. So, best lead actor, big one here. We have three differences. We have three differences. Alana, you're kind of getting onto something here.
Oh, I think I am. Well, listen, I love Rafe Fiennes, and I always feel like I pronounce his name wrong. But
I'm also going to pronounce it wrong. So
yeah,
it's okay.
I know it's Rafe. Is it Fiennes or Fiennes?
Don't ask me.
Okay, great. But he's a fantastic actor.
Rafe, yes.
Just F and then period.
This movie was so good. I think he really shined in it.
Oh my gosh, he's so good.
He's so good in Conclave. My good, there was one point in the film where, you know, he's so composed throughout the whole thing, and you guys will know what I'm talking about, and then he kind of loses that composure, and I just didn't see it coming, and it's so good.
He's the center of that film. He has to carry the entire
Carries
project.
the whole film.
100%. When he gets upset, it's like you upset Dad.
I know.
Like you get that perception, you're like, oh.
I felt it.
Right, you feel it so raw. It's such a good pick, though. It's
he's
such
so
a good
good
pick.
at it.
And then Kyla, you've kind of got a bit. In my opinion, I see it a little bit as an outlier here with old Timmy.
All the other choices I made were the predictor. I was trying to do a little bit of graphs and statistics. Timmy was maybe more of my personal choice. We do have the two other nominees in Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice, a nomination that I think you could argue would say that was a film that didn't really do well when it launched, and then after the election, people in Hollywood were kind of gravitating towards it as a way of kind of just like, you know, tackling the election that just occurred and trying to find a film that expressed that. So he was able to get in as well as Jeremy Strong in that film. Coleman Domingo is phenomenal in Sing Sing. I am upset that once again he's getting sidelined and this film's getting sidelined. I'm excited for him to come back in the next few years and win an Oscar because he's just phenomenal. But it is a dead heat race, it seems, between Adrien Brody and Timothée Chalamet. Maybe I shouldn't say dead heat because Adrien Brody seems to be the front runner. He has another Oscar that he won in the early 2000s for a film called The Pianist. He is the youngest actor to win that award at I believe the age of 29. It's so then interesting that his return to this category, I believe his second nomination in this category and his second possible win might be taken away by Timothée Chalamet, who would then overtake that record of being the youngest person. I loved Timothée Chalamet in the film. I think I enjoyed A Complete Unknown. I loved Timothée Chalamet in A Complete Unknown. I also think that Adrien Brody is fantastic in The Brutalist, so it'll be interesting to see between the two of them.
Yeah, I did go with Adrien Brody again. That movie, I had some complicated thoughts on it and stuff like that, but just when I think of like the performances that I saw, you know, Rafe is probably my second runner, but in terms of that, like Adrian Brody just had me, you know, from moment one. I just totally believed in just this raw emotion, and the way he navigates those situations, you get every emotion out of it, and it's so real and so palpable, especially just that opening act or so, just really, really kind of sells it where you're like, yeah, I totally get it with this guy. So that was my pick there. I mean, The Brutalist doesn't happen without Adrian Brody in my eyes. I'm like, I don't really know anyone else that could have walked in and been able to convincingly attack so many complex issues, so much complex emotion, and actually be able to string it together, you know, even in a long run time. So, yeah.
You know what I loved? Timothy Chalamet on SNL doing Bob Dylan songs.
So good.
There you go.
So surprising.
He has been campaigning like crazy. So if he gets it, people can't act shocked. He hasn't had the awards, you know, to follow. But hey, a good campaign will get you there.
Funny about Timothy Chalamet is I know we're getting to Best Picture next, but he is starring in like 2 of these big movies, and I think people forget that. Like he's in both of them.
Oh yeah.
And Wonka last year.
And Wonka, yeah.
Well, we all try to forget that one sometimes.
I love Wonka.
But yeah, just a wild that he's in there. I could see either one happening. I could see Adrian Brody. He's a great actor. Nobody's denying that. I just don't really like him very much, and that's kind of why I didn't pick him.
He's a very peculiar guy.
Yeah.
So, but he's a dang good actor.
Are you sure?
So
Sure.
That's the picks when it comes to lead. So we've got Timothy Chalamet, Adrian Brody, and Ralph Fiennes. I'm going with Ralph Fiennes. That's how I'm going to say it. So.
No, that was my pick.
Well, no, but I'm saying that's how you say his name.
it.
I'm saying that's how you say his name. So, because I had to go for it. But yes, Ralph Fiennes with Alana. I am going for Adrian Brody. So
you got to be careful because last year I was on, and you don't want to make a mistake because then it's captured forever. I did imply vaguely that Cillian Murphy last year was Irish, and the YouTube comment section understandably tore me to
I never had
pieces.
the heart to tell you.
I knew. Don't worry. And I would like to
people...
formally apologize to Cillian Murphy and so many others that I understand.
I never wanted you to find out. I checked the comments.
No, it's okay. They were very right to point it out.
Be nice.
The name Cillian is Irish.
No, it's so Irish. Yes, no.
The end.
Yes.
We just watch the movies, okay? We're not in the Academy. These votes don't count. So
we don't count for anything.
Yeah, we don't count for anything. We're here for entertainment, which makes it even better that we make our best pictures. So this is the one, all right? This is the big one. We, again, have 3 differences, but they're all amazing. We'll see the noms, you know, here in just a second, you know, when we're looking. A lot of them.
Many.
I know, there's a lot of them, but you've seen them in literally every other category.
Right.
So it's bringing it here. I mean, Anora, Brutalist, Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, Substance, and Wicked. Tons of Best Picture noms, but I think for me, I guess I'll lead it off because I've got it here, but for me, no movie was more my favorite this year than Anora. I walked out of that and I something clicked. I just knew, I was like, this is something that is special. You know, it inspired me to go back and look at Sean Baker's other work, even if I actually don't love all of it. I do like some of it, but it inspired me to kind of go back and look at it and just kind of take him for what he is, because I just think it is just, it's a brave piece of filmmaking. You know, it confronts a really difficult topic and does it with just unbelievable beauty, pain, heartbreak, and just joy. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's so dark, but it's so funny. And Anora just, I don't know what this year would have looked like if I didn't see it. It was for sure my favorite of the year and my front runner. So, Kyle, you've got the epic.
Yeah, no, we just talked about the way in which it feels like this race is such a toss-up, and it's a very strange year, and that we just don't have any clear frontrunners. It felt like back in the summer when Anora was getting a lot of buzz out of the Cannes Film Festival. It was like, oh, I guess Anora's our frontrunner. And then Conclave was coming out, and everyone's like, ooh, Conclave feels like a little bit more universal. It feels like a little more mainstream than Anora, which is a bit more edgy. Conclave maybe is the frontrunner. And then Wicked comes out. Huge box office success. People love Wizard of Oz. Maybe Wicked is our frontrunner.
Right.
And then The Brutalist kind of comes out, and then, you know, especially kind of has like a dark horse. No, I'm sorry. I should say Emilia Perez gets 13 nominations, and then that starts turning into the front runner. And then the backlash occurs, and then people are like, maybe Brutalist is the front runner. And now we've come full circle bat to Anora,
Right.
it feels like. It feels like Anora has enough of a push to get there, but this new other secret dark horse is maybe coming in with a complete unknown. I keep hearing online reports of like, don't count it out. Who knows? You know, a lot of the voters, they're Gen X, they're baby boomers, they love Bob Dylan.
Right.
They love maybe what Bob Dylan represents in this period of time. They love a musical biopic, though I will say musical biopics have never won Best Picture, so that would be a first. So we'll see. I'm betting on Anora. It probably says on the sheet that it's The Brutalist, but that's because the race has just changed so much in the past few months, and it's been exciting to see, and it's going to be exciting to see how it fills out.
Brutalist is absolutely still there. You know, no way that it falls apart too hard. It's like you kind of have the each ends of the spectrum where you start, how you start and how you end, and the Brutalist kind of represents that. But Elena, still, you're going conclave or bust, and I love it.
So here's why, and this isn't because I think it's going to win. It's because I think it should / I liked it the best. I mean, if I went with that, it would be Wicked. But I also was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna put this. I think Conclave did such a good job telling that story, and I think it's kind of sits in that spot where I think it's, as you mentioned, like universally liked, kind of more mainstream. But I also think it's something like critics really enjoy. So I think it could work too. I don't know.
So watchable.
It's so watchable. It's great.
And also, again, as of time of recording, the Pope could die. Okay.
Oh wow, that's a prediction.
Voting is closed, but you never know.
Pope Francis is quite ill, and it'd be very interesting and, you know, kind of the parallel of what is going on in Conclave and what's going on in real life.
So we never know.
You know, it's on people's minds, I suppose.
Right.
Best Picture is something that is ranked choice, and so if a film is on everybody's number 2, that could lift it into number 1. And it feels like Conclave's the type of movie that everyone would have on number 2. Whereas Anora might have its detractors, Brutalist might have its detractors, you know, people that are putting it lower in there. But Conclave just could maybe sweep in there. Just a big surprise, who knows?
It could sneak in, and that pulls up, that's at least, you know, our final picks there. We've got Kyle with The Brutalist, myself with Anora, and Elena with Conclave. You got all of our picks on the screen, and obviously, you know, those are just some of our predictions for obviously the biggest. It's not every Academy Award category, but it's for some of the biggest and surely going to be the most dramatic, you know, categories of the season. I know I want to take a moment to, you know, thank you all for watching us and hopefully playing along, you know, as you guys have been going. And of course, thank my lovely people that have joined. Elena, thank you so much, obviously, for throwing yourself out there to 2 movie nerds and being able to put up a good fight. That's for sure for what you believe in.
It's nice to talk about movies instead of books for once.
Yeah, exactly. And Kyle, always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Back and everything. It's always great. You can see us basically anytime something is movie related. Kyle will usually be by my side. So we wanted to thank you again. The 97th Academy Awards are going to be hosted by Conan O'Brien this year, which is amazing. I'm excited for that personally. So I think it's going to be fun. But they'll be on 13 on Your Side on March 2nd. And then also again, just in case you want to catch up with these people again, Kyle Macciomei, he's with the Grand Rapids Film Society, writes a ton for their newsletter, Beam from the Booth. You'll find even more breakdowns of Oscar stuff, you know, along the way on there. Great pieces just about other types of films and directors and everything like that. He's an incredible writer.
Thanks,
so
Eirk.
you can find that on grfilm.org. And then, of course, Alana Holland, you will see her at 5, you know, 5:30, and sometimes at 6 with Healthy Use and, you know, all different kinds of stories. You know, one of our co-anchors and stuff. We love her lots. So she's around every time we got her. So, and then me, I don't know. You'll see me somewhere.
You pop up.
I pop up every now and then. So thank you guys again so much for watching here on 13 Plus. You know, I'll have tons more content, of course, that you can watch anytime, anywhere. And, you know, of course, 13 Plus, you know, completely free. Who's going to win?
I think.
Oh, yeah, who's going to win?
Personally, I'm going to win getting all of these correct.
If you win, do we have to do a Wicked performance here in the studio?
Yes!
That's good. That's on cam.
You know, they got the Grand Rapids Mayor this week up on stage at the Grand Rapids Ballet for Peter Pan, so I think we could call them up and we could make this happen.
Great, I love this.
I will do that. If you do that, we'll have it on camera right here. I believe we have wicked lighting that this studio has. There's like a pink and green that's saved in through here. I don't think they can change it from back there, but
you guys up in the harnesses doing Defying Gravity. I love it.
I got it. All right, that's the plan. So I guess stay tuned to 13 Plus, because if that happens, it'll definitely be on here. But we'll, of course, have more content on local filmmakers and local film happenings here in West Michigan on 13 Plus. We have tons more coming soon. So thank you all so much for joining us. Have a great day, and of course, enjoy the show.